Next speaker, I just want to say thank you to Ben and Rob. Next speaker is Rob Freeman, Rob Cam from the Art of the Matrix show. Before I crack on, I just want to say we have got a lady here from Switzerland, Yvonne, who's come all the way to today. So welcome to Thank you very much. And also, we've got Grov from the Awakened band, the Homies, in the corner there, so thanks to yourself as well. Right, so we are running a little bit behind, it's no problem. Tony Fowler's on his way, so what I'm going to do is pass the mic to Rob, and a big round of applause, and enjoy the rest of the trip. Take care.
When I'm going to put my specs on, I can't see a thing. Paul told me I look 30 without my specs on, but when I put them on, he says you look 50, so cheers mate for that.
Yeah, can you hear me all right? Speaking to it, is all right?
Yeah, it's better if you speak into it.
What a great looking audience, all apart from this section. But the rest of them, brilliant, yeah. So, if I keep speaking outside the mic, just give us a shout. Like. Yeah, so I'm Rob Freeman, commonly known as. I know a lot of you have listened to the radio, and I think a few have attended talks. This needs to be next to me. God, bring it, Alex. Put it a bit closer. Rob Freeman, as I'm commonly known. Two great speakers there, Rob B, Ben. Kind of like how Ben, I like how you did it because you kind of coming from opposing places, but arriving at same destination. And I found it quite interesting because a lot of my views and research I've done and experiences are similar to Rob's. But I started out about 5 years ago, looking at money, debt, law, stuff like that. But where I originally came from was the esoteric side and UFO stuff, which I've been doing for since I was that big. Not much bigger now, am I? But since I was about that big. So the first book I think I read was how old was I? 9, 10 years old in about 1974, about how pyramids and stuff were built. So it's quite interesting because I came from that side, studied for years and years, just gained knowledge, and couldn't really do anything. Realised from a long time, my brother's in the audience, he'll vouch for me, that we realised from a long time ago that everything is sort of energies, everything can be put down to energy. And about 5 years ago, I'm not used to having a mic here, but about 5 years ago, I became a single parent, having all that knowledge for years and years and years. And financially, well, I got in a financial mess. I had to pack working to look after my kids. And after about 3 months, all the savings I had run out. So I basically had about that much to pay out and about that much coming in. I thought, bleed, now what am I going to do here? And that's how I came across this money scam, law thing, debt thing, whatever it is, out of necessity. I'm not going to great detail, but just by pure chance with a speeding ticket I got, led me down this path. So when people say to me, oh, when did you wake up? And I didn't have an awakening moment. I can't say I actually had an awakening moment. But what I did have is, I gained a lot of knowledge. And like I say, 5 years ago, I finally got what I think are some tools to fight back. All those years of research and knowledge that I gained, I couldn't find anything other than just to observe it and just observe the game, basically. But this last 5 years, out of necessity, I found something that we can get back at them to fight back with. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, my experiences. Basically, what I want to cover tonight is the debt enslavement as I see it and as I've experienced it. The trust relationship, I keep harping on about trust, and a lot of people don't necessarily agree with me on trust, so they don't have to. But from what I've experienced myself, I think everything comes down to some sort of trust relationship. So I want to cover that. A lot of people who know me know I've been in court a few times now. In my town, it's just outside Sheffield, when I go in court, you can see straight away the security guards on the front door to the usher to everybody just go, oh shit, it's him. And so they hate me, and I don't particularly like them. But what I did is, once I got into this, I'm the type of personality where, it's 5 years ago when I started learning this stuff, I'll dip my toe into the water, and I thought, oh, I'll just jump in and have a go. Because of the necessity that I faced financially, I've ended up because I come from a sort of spiritual background, I decided to create a reality for me and my children. My choice is feed my children or pay the corporations. it's a no-brainer, isn't it? So I decided to create my own reality. It's not instant, it took time. Whereas I thought, I realised what money is, and I can go into it a little bit. There is no money. We never pay for anything. We just tricked into it. It's an illusion we think we're paying. We're paying for nothing. All we really are doing is handing over a promise to pay that never gets fulfilled. We're just discharging the debt. We're not actually paying it. So based on what I realised that we're not actually paying for anything, I thought, well, I'm going to create my life for my children and myself where I don't pay anything. I thought, well, we're not paying for anything anyway, so what am I doing wrong? And so 4.5, 5 years down the line, I only pay for my mortgage. That's the only thing I pay for. I don't pay for anything else. I know a few of you have heard this story before, but some new people have not. So, I had to go up my mortgage it's almost a year ago, in fact it is a year ago. I presume most of you know that the mortgage is a fraudulent loan. It's not even a loan anyway. We create the funds. I can't reach it because we won't have time. But based on it being fraudulent, there's no lawful contracts. These are the things I asked for last year. Beat them all in court and just got basically railroaded, shafted, and almost got kicked out of my house, so I had to back down. So, later on, I've got some ideas that I've hinted at this last few weeks, but I'll try and go in a bit more detail, where I think, with a bit of help from people such as Rob and some other intelligent speakers, far more intelligent than me, I think I've got some sort of weapon again. I don't like to use the word weapon. What I do is, I believe, I don't like using that word either. There's not many words I don't like, is there? I like to mirror back. I realise we can't beat the system. And if we fight them, that's what they want conflict. So what I realised is, well, hang on a daily basis they're doing this. So what I realised is, hang on, I just shove it back at them. And all these corporations, their game is to push pieces of paper backwards and forwards. It's to shove liability away from themselves and shove it all onto us. And they've tricked us into signing away our fundamental freedoms and rights. We sign everything away. And nobody can force you to sign anything. Seem to be waffling here, don't I? So the point I'm trying to make is I create my own reality where I don't pay for anything apart from this mortgage, which I back down on not to get kicked out. I've quietly worked for a year amongst all the other stuff I'm doing. And I found out that not only is the mortgage fraudulent, what happens is, I'm going to cover this a bit later, I'll just give you a brief insight. You borrow money, or you think you borrow money, but you create it yourself. They place a charge on your property. If you get into arrears like me and don't pay, the charge gets triggered on your property. You go to court, the judge looks at it, all he's doing is he's got a set of accounts, that's all he's doing. Yeah, he's a debtor, the charge has been triggered, get him out, that's what they did. So I backed down and made an offer of payment. The charge that they place on your property is not on your property, it's a trick, it's a con. They cannot put a charge. My house, I've got a mortgage, but it's called a freehold property. Started looking at stuff that is, what's freehold mean? What's a charge? I'm going to cover this later, but what I found out is they cannot place a charge on a freehold property. Thus, if you do get in arrears, they cannot repossess your property. It doesn't apply to where we think we live, so I'm going to cover that in a bit. Okay. So that's the type of things I'm going to be talking about tonight, and anything else I can chuck in with it. Okay, so, where can we start? I'll tell you what I'll start with. This is 5 years ago I started doing this, and then about 2 years ago I came across a website called Get Out of Debt Free. Does anybody know Get Out of Debt Free? Yeah, brilliant site, isn't it? So I've been doing this for about 3 years, and I stumbled across, I know someone who he's a mate man. 2 years ago I stumbled across Get Out of Debt Free, and I think, blimey, some other weirdos doing the same as me. And they have they use a type of 3-letter system. So, they do a type of 3-letter system where any financial obligation, any debt that's been, or any demand being placed on you, they just ask for proof. Well, I've been doing this for 3 years, so I know it works. I thought, oh, brilliant. So I started writing posts for them. But they do it slightly different to me. So I know I've covered this before, but I'll do it in brief. So how did I manage to, a lump like me, I'm from Sheffield, I'm not super intelligent. I've not got degrees and stuff like this. I don't know about law stuff. It's just what I've done myself. I'm just a lump from Sheffield who decided to get off his arse and do something. And like I say, I don't pay for anything. So if I can do it, Anybody can do it. It's just having the confidence to do it. So, any obligation, any demand placed on me, I quickly realised, I got some, 5 years ago, I learned the early Freeman stuff. Freeman on the land stuff. I call myself Rob Freeman commonly, but I don't like it when people say you're a Freeman on the land. I'm not. It's similar to what Rob is saying. I call myself Rob Freeman because I'm a free man. I don't care whether I'm on the land, on a boat, on the sea, in the air, or underneath ground, or sat in my bath. I'm a free man no matter what. Because we're as free as we think we are, and as we feel we are, and that's what I've achieved. Okay, so, my writing's terrible, by the way. So, loads of. I had loads of. Okay, that's as debts, because there were millions of them. I didn't purposely run these up at first, but once I found out what I was doing, I kind of got a bit, I won't say cocky, but I got a bit confident. So I started running debts up on purpose just to see how far I could push things. I know. 107 parking tickets in 3 years I'm up to now. I haven't paid one. I've never paid one. It's not good though, is it? Let's be honest.
Dan, where are you?
I'm trying to get to 150, but what else did I? £3,500 gas bill managed. What else did I? £10,500 secured loan on my property. Whoa, secured on the property, you can't do anything, can you? Yeah, I fucking did, didn't I? I got rid of it. In fact, they owe me £26,000 now. So it's gone from a. I'm not being clever. I just wanted to. That was necessity. It might sound like I'm being clever. I suppose I am in a way. But what I've decided to do is, like I said, if I'm going to jump in the pool, is I want to push the boundaries out so I can tell as many people as possible. And that's what I've done. I've spent the last 5 years just trying to tell everybody my experiences. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm not saying everything I'm going to tell you is right, but I must be doing something right because I have never been taken to court successfully over any financial demand ever. No one's ever taken me to court. No one's ever taken any action on me. Sorry. So I must be doing something right. Okay, so any demand that's placed on you from the early Freeman stuff that I used in court that didn't really work, but it set us up to evolve into something better. Okay, I decided to ask for, at first, sorry I'm talking while I'm doing this, at first I used to, you know the legal fiction name, Mr. Freeman. I was terrified of the name at first. The early Freeman stuff, oh, it's your straw man name, don't use it in your contracting. Excuse me. I tried that argument in court loads of times. All it were, I used to go in court, I would have been the first person that I know of to arrest a judge or magistrate. 3 weeks before Roger Hayes did it in Birkenhead a couple of years ago, I went in just with my mate and I tried to arrest the magistrates and they ran off. And they called security. And so I abandoned ship because it's Admiralty Maritime Law. That's as far as I knew at that stage. So I abandoned ship. Next minute, somebody comes out and says it's adjourned for 2 weeks. I thought, well, I've just abandoned it. Oh, I'll come back in 2 weeks. Next, 2 weeks later, we have a district judge. So what do? I get into a bit of chat with him. So I put him on his oath, same as I did with them. And I try and arrest the district judge and he runs off. And he calls security. And 2 security men come straight out the side of me, but they won't touch me. So I abandoned it all again, and nothing ever came back of that. And then about 3 weeks later, Roger Hayes, as we know, he famously arrested the judge with the help of, you know, some good people. So I was starting to, whether it's, I don't think it was a result, more of a stalemate, but I was starting to get a bit results. I call them results because the demands that were placed on me, they weren't enforcing. So I thought, well, I'm getting somewhere. And obviously, I really told as many people as possible. So what I decided to do is, any obligation, any demand placed on me, I decided to accept it. I thought, I learned very, very early on, okay, they want you in dispute. If they get you in dispute, they take to court, don't they? That's what they want, whoever's placed a demand on you. So I thought, right, hang on a minute. It's all about conflict, it's all about dispute. If I don't pay it, I'm in dispute. If it's £5 grand and I say I owe you £2 grand, we're in dispute. If I ignore it, we're in dispute. So I thought to myself, all right, then, everything that anyone throws at me, I'll say, yeah, okay, brilliant. You say I owe you £5,000, no problem. I may owe it, you're right. Okay, no problem. So that negates any sort of conflict as far as I'm concerned. So, anything that they throw at me, anything you can, don't have to be a financial demand, any demand, no problem. I'll accept it, but I'll accept it on condition. There's a condition to that acceptance, it's called conditional acceptance. That's his condition now. I'm done, but that's his condition now. Yeah, no problem, I'll accept everything you throw at me, but, hang on a minute, I'll accept on condition that you just show me a little bit of proof. No problem, just show me a tiny little bit of proof, and I'll pay the £5,000. I'll go to the bank now and go and pay it. I won't, because I'm in skin, like, but yeah, I'll pay it, like. So, that's what I told everybody. So, where's my eraser? So, I conditionally accept everything. Anyway, after that, I take my whiteboard everywhere, don't I? Alex, what do I do now? Yeah, I knew that. Cut. You know what, people said to me, Rob, you're really intelligent. You know, I once thought River Phoenix were a place in Canada. I am thick, honestly. Sometimes I'm really dippy. Well, honestly, I'm thick sometimes. I don't know how I've got away with it so far. Yeah, so, condition accepts everything that they throw at me. On condition that they show me a bit of proof. First thing I ask for is a copy of, and I know Rob will understand all this, a copy of the original contract that we signed. Okay, let's have a look at, stay away from loans, credit cards, let's have a look at them. They don't lend you anything, you sign an agreement. An agreement is not a contract. An agreement is only signed by us. So it's a, what is it, a unilateral, unenforceable agreement. What it means is unilateral, it's only been signed by one. Contract, a proper common law contract or any contract, is a meeting of the minds. It's at least two people have to come and negotiate. Now, corporations cannot contract with a living, sentient human being. They can only contract corporation to corporation. Alex and myself can contract to human beings. We discuss terms, and there's a meeting of the minds, we can contract. But a corporation and a human being cannot contract, which is why they have corporatised us. That's why everything comes in your legal fiction name. Okay, so number one thing, copy of the original contract. Send me that, please. No problem. I forgot what I am now. Oh, number two. Remember, it's a credit card or a loan. So number two I asked for is verification of the claim against me. Okay, every demand will come in your, you used to call it strawman name, but your legal fiction name, doesn't it? My mum and dad didn't call me Mr. Robert Freeman, did they? Or they didn't write my name on my birthday cards in block capital letters, did they? So, verify the claim against me. Okay. Remember I said corporations want to shove liability away from themselves onto us, and within their department they pass it on. That's why it's very, you always get to speak to somebody different each time you contact a corporation. You pass it on, it's such and such department, such and such, because all they want to do is shove liability on and within each other, so it goes round and round and round. We sign everything. We stand there under full commercial liability. We sign. As soon as you sign, you are instantly liable. Okay, so I'm asking them to verify the claim against me. Somebody in that corporation is saying I owe £5 grand, that they lent £5 grand. I know it's fraudulent. So I said to them, can I please have a proper bill? Notice on your credit card what you get a statement, don't you? You never get a bill, do you? Okay, if I do some work for Alex, I'm not picking on you, Alex, honestly. If I do some work for Alex and he says, oh, how much I owe? He said £5 grand. He says, send us a bill, won't he? So what would I do? I'd write my bill out and send it in, wouldn't I? You don't win a posh restaurant, do you? They say, wait till you can have a statement. Do you? Ask for a bill, don't you? And bills, to be valid, have to be signed. So, verify the claim against me. Whoever's saying that, that you owe them £5,000, stick a signature on it, nobody ever will. All you'll get is a photocopy of a squiggle of something you can't recognise, because whoever signs it assumes all liability, and obviously we know their game is pushing liability away. So, two things I've asked for. So far, there is no conflict. There's no reason to go to court. I'm admitting that I may possibly owe you £5,000. But just give us a copy of the contract, and this is all in their so-called laws, which I hate calling laws. This is all valid. Copy of the contracts, just send me a proper bill. I don't want statements, just send me a bill. And then, just before, If it's a credit card or a loan, I don't mind bothering writing because it's like Spanish, isn't it? That says, it doesn't say, but it's supposed to say validation of the debt. That's the wrong one.
Works for me.
Yeah, that's the wrong one. It's right, intimidating when everyone's laughing, I don't know what you're laughing at. Is it that writing?
Yeah.
Is that what you're laughing at? Anyway, I'll carry on. That says validation of the debt, because whiteboard's small. So what you're saying is, you're saying that you lent me £5,000, a credit card is a loan, or it might just be a loan as it is. So no problem, just show me a copy of your accounting, validate it, that shows that £5,000 got transferred from your bank account into mine. No problem. They can never do that because £5,000 was never in their bank account. We created it with our signature. I haven't got time to go into that now, but we create the funds and they pretend to lend it back to us for those who don't know. Okay, so what I've done, I've asked for 3 things, that's all I've done, isn't it? Done nothing wrong, I'm not refusing to pay. This works with everything. Council tax. Everyone asks me about council tax. I've done it with these people. Ooh, I've never paid council tax, even when I didn't know what I was doing. I know. The trick is to... Okay, this is what I asked for. I can simplify it. I'll tell you what. No. Okay, so they're the 3 things I asked for. I'm going to go on to council tax because that's the big one that everyone asks for. I won't recommend anybody messing about with council tax, but I did, so... And they don't come near my house now. Yeah, so ask for 3 things. Oh, but that's not enough. I decided, I thought, hang on a minute, I'm going to ask for these 3 things. Give them a time limit. So, you can give them 21 days. 14 days is just about enough. 10 days is pushing it a little bit because of weekends. So I opted for 14 or 21. Okay. Send a notice back saying I conditionally accept or I accept that I mail this money, no problem. Send me this bit of proof, please, for my private files, and I'll willingly pay it. Excuse me. Give them 14 days to do it. Out of these 65 or 70 companies that I've done it for myself and about another 100 for helping other people, these corporations, not only have they not come up with one of these 3 things, they've come up with 0, they can't come up with any of them. Okay, so far what have we done wrong? We've done nothing wrong. Great system. 14 days, okay. Debts, financial obligations, from a court's point of view, is all about honour and dishonour. Okay. When someone's placing a demand on you, we are in dishonour. If we ignore it, if we argue, whatever, we are then in dishonour as far as the court's concerned. The trick is to get us back in honour and to put them in dishonour. Okay. 14 days, please, send it me. No problem, and you can't be payment. 14 days goes by, they'll come up with some load of bollocks legislation that they don't have to do this, or they may send you an agreement. If anyone who's not sure about this and wants to learn it, by the way, I'm going to leave my email address, because I want to get this out as much as possible. Like I said, this is a tool to fight back, is to stop paying these horrible people. Stop paying them as much as we can, but don't put yourself in any sort of trouble. So if anyone wants to learn this, I'm going to leave my email after we can get in touch. Okay, 14 days goes by. They may send you an agreement, remember that it's not a contract. They may come up with some legislation, blah, blah, blah. Whatever they come up with, they'll never come up with what you want. Okay, let's be honourable. 14 days has gone by, okay. Second, notice number 2. All you do is send 3 letters and job's done. Okay, now we're on notice number 2. Notice number 2 says, I realise that you're really busy. You've not responded to my original notice. You might have fat, lazy staff, and it might be sat on a desk somewhere. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you an extra 10 days just to show how honourable I am. Okay? I'll give you another 10 days. I realise you're busy. Just come up with them 3 things, please, and I'll pay it. I've decided to call it... Okay, that's notice number 1, notice number 2. This is the bit where I'm slightly different from Get Out of Debt Free, because this is my own thing I came up with. I call it the hook, number 2. Knowing that they're going to ignore notice number 1, I call it the hook. Because what I do is, on notice number 2, and I can show you how to do this, I handwrite everything. I don't type anything out, no fancy templates, no fancy wording. Get Out of Debt Free stuff's fantastic, it looks so professional. I'm just a fat one scribbling it out, chucking it in. Because that's what you do in normal life, wouldn't you? Just send something in here. You know what I mean? You send them a notice, wouldn't you? So, the hook, I call it the hook. Okay, 14 days, they've not responded. 10 days, what do? I say, look, I realise you're busy, I'm going to give you a further 10 days to come up with these. Otherwise, you agree that there is no debt. Okay. Attached to that, I say this time, if you don't respond within the time limit, not only are you agreeing that there is no debt, I'm spending a lot of time on this, I'm a busy man. You are agreeing to pay my schedule of fees now. Okay. Remember, they can't respond because they can't come up with any of these three things that we've asked for. So then I add to it a schedule of my fees. Okay, I charge 500 quid for a phone call or a text message or an email, £1,000 a letter, and I charge £3,000 per person per visit. I know people that are charging 30 million and stuff, but I want to keep it quite honourable, and I want to keep it quite realistic. So, if you don't respond and give me the stuff in the next 10 days, not only do you agree that there is no debt owing, you also agree to pay my schedule of fees. When you get in a taxi, what does it say? £2.70 a mile. They're telling you what they're going to charge you for the time. Solicitor, 200 quid an hour, isn't it? They tell you that's their schedule. You don't have to have them, do you? You don't have to have my services. I don't. If you don't want to do business with me, sound, I'm not bothered. But if you do, this is what I charge. Okay, so notice number 2 goes off. 10 days goes by, they won't give you anything. What they'll try and do now is pass it on to somebody else to shit themselves, basically. They'll either pass it on to somebody else or just ignore it. Okay, so all you've done so far, 14 days, 10 days, 24 days, what's that, 3.5 weeks, and the hook's got them, you're clear. You're clear on any debt. Even mortgage, I'll come to that in a bit, they won't wear it. This applies to anything, absolutely anything you can think of, whether it's a court order even. In fact, I'll tell you about orders in a bit. A court order is fantastic. I've got £17,000 owing to me from judges who put orders out against me. They now owe me £17,000, so they never took action, but I'll tell you about that later on. I know, later on. What am I going to say? Yeah, so 24 days, 3.5 weeks has gone by, boom, last 10 days goes by, notice number 3 comes out. What is it? It's called an estoppel. It just means stop. Yeah, all these fancy words, don't they? It's just an estoppel. What it means is, it's called all sorts, but a tacit agreement, which means agreeing by silence. It's an estoppel by acquiescence. All it means is, you've had a chance, you've had another chance, you've done nothing, you've provided nothing, you've not even argued back, you've let the time go by, so now, third one goes off, it's called an estoppel. From now on, from the date of this notice, any communication I receive from you, you have already agreed to my fee schedule. So, council tax people tried to get me for 1,500 quid. They now owe me 15,500. Forgot to tell you. More, I know, they didn't come in the house. They said bailiffs once. I've got a denial, it's called a denial of implied rights of access. What that means is, anybody can come up to your house, they've got what's called an implied right of access. Anybody can come to your house and knock on your door. So, excuse me, I'm from so-and-so. So I've got a denial of access telling everybody that if they knock on my door, come on my land without my written permission first, they're going to have to pay me £5,000. So people don't come now. And if somebody wants a bailiff came 2 years ago, you have to come through a general and come up to my gates. And I says, what do you want? You can't get through the final gate, right? What do you want? He says, I'm a bailiff. I went, what do you want? He went, I'm a bailiff. Oh, well, I know that. I said, what do you want? He says, I'm from so-and-so. I said, have you read my notices on the window? He went, yeah, but I didn't understand them. Oh, I'm going to go back and read them then. So he went back. He read them, he come back like that. Great big bailiff there, come back like that. I went, have you read them? He went, yeah. I said, do you understand them now? He went, no. He says, but does it mean that if I don't get off your land, I owe you £5,000? I went, yeah, mate, that's exactly what it means. He went, right, well. He just went. Like, they were trying to enforce 1,500 quid there. So, it can be done, and we're just chucking back to them, aren't we? This just games like a game of table tennis, just knock it back towards them, that's all. So, estoppel by acquiescence. I'm not being cocky, honestly, it sounds like I am, but I'm not. I was shitting myself first. I didn't know whether it to work all this, but I just jumped in and had a go. Estoppel by acquiescence, excuse me. Any more communication from yourselves over this matter, you've agreed to me, I'm going to bill you. So, that's what I'm council tax people. They sent me a letter, another demand for money, which weren't a bill, it's never a proper bill, after this date. I forgot to tell you, the more I got into this first twice I tried it, I thought, hang on a minute, I'm not happy with this. £3,000 per person per visit, which I did with the bailiff, that's what I charge council tax people. I thought, hang on a minute, how can I make my fee schedule even better? So, added to my fee schedule of like I said, £3,000 per person per visit and 500 quid this, £1,000 that, I had late payment charges, interest, £500 a week interest, and so obviously after the estoppel, any communication comes, boom, 18 with my first bill. Thank you, according to my terms that you've all agreed on, can you please pay me, blah blah blah. You have 7 days, keep a copy, send it off to them. You have 7 days to pay me, you've agreed to it. Okay, the trick is to get them to owe more money to us than what they're claiming we owe them. Does that even make sense? Okay, council tax people are saying I owe 1,500 quid. In this process, they've agreed to my terms, they've sent communication after the fight. So, in this case, they sent me a letter, £1,000. Did they phone up? They may have phoned up, but I don't think they even have enough. Let's say they phoned up. So, £1,000, 500 quid for a phone call, so now it's even Steven, isn't it? They're claiming I owe 1,500 quid, I'm up to 1,500 quid already. Send a stupid bailiff, we'll run off, 3 grand. Straight away, straight after this, they owe me £4,500. Anyway, they owe me thousands now anyway. 7 days goes by, they've not paid the bill. Late payment charges, interest. I even said to them, what did I say? On the second bill, if you are having financial difficulty, please seek an independent financial advisor. You know. Bailiff people come, have an outside mailbox and put a note to and ran off. So I threatened the bailiff with another bailiff firm. And they shit themselves because I was sending bailiffs onto bailiffs. So they've never, in 2.5 years, they've never come by. They never paid the bill. Yeah, so interest, late payment charges, in the end, this is how it works. Like I said, I do it with everything now. And from a judge sat in court or a magistrate or whoever it is, like I said, I don't know why I'm holding that, but I'll touch to that, aren't I? Get that chandelier, it's worth more than my house, that is. It's expensive, that, isn't it? I get distracted with bright lights. What was I saying? Where, Rob?
You was in court. You said to a judge.
Oh, thank you so much, yeah. Magistrate, judge or whatever, all he does is, he's an accountant. That's why you are held accountable. We've all got commercial value. So he looks who's the debtor, doesn't he? Not very English, does it? Who's the debtor, who's the creditor? So now, the council tax people, all they can do is take me to court. I want them to take me to court. I wish they would take me to court. Because all the judge or magistrate can do is a valid claim from Sheffield City Council, whatever it is, for 1,500 quid. Yeah, that's all right. It's not. He's not signing stuff, but he don't know, does he? He's on their side. So he'll call it valid. But what? Hang on a minute. An equally valid claim from Mr. Freeman, who's had no conflict, no argument, not refused to pay it, accepted everything for whatever it is, 4,500 quid, for instance. All he can actually do, this is why the council tax people will not take me to court, I owe them 1,500 quid, I've accepted it, but they owe me 4,500, they've accepted it. All he would ever be able to do is get them to write the difference out. So if you take me to court, I get a 3 grand cheque. So please take me to court, and that's why they never will. And that's why I do with everybody. So that's the system I use for everything.
Got that gas and electricity and all that as well, yeah?
Oh, everybody asks about gas and electric, I wish you wouldn't.
No, would that suit the same routine? Would that suit it?
No. Oh God, it's horrible, gas and electric. I panic every time I do one of these tours because somebody at the back always said, what about gas and electric? I think, oh no, I don't
There's always a bloody scouser.
Is he a plan?
Well, have you got electric in Liverpool?
Only electric.
I don't know that. Yeah, it's different. What I wanted to say is, stay away from mortgages, stay away from cars. I've got some great information on some good information on cars and mortgages later on. The more value something's got, the harder it is for them to give it up, and it's harder for us. So stay away from mortgages and cars unless you really know what you're doing. I still won't recommend it. And the other ones to stay on is council tax, even though I've done it, because they've got legislation on their side, so they think they've got the law. It's not the law, is it? It's a dictated law, as you quite rightly informed me. They're dictating to us. So unless you're really confident, which I wasn't, but I still did council tax anyway, and then the others are gas and electric, because they can cut you off, can't they? That's the thing. You can beat them on paper and everything. So it's just really simple. But the idea is to remain honourable, not to take the piss. And I have to piss a little bit, really. I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, all these things that you're saying that you can use it on,
Okay.
if you got out the middle bit of all the detail that you said, he's basically getting something for nothing out here. That seems to be the crux of what you're saying. So I'm just wondering, if you're not paying for these things, who does end up paying?
Yeah, that's a good question, that, yeah. So what you're saying is, for instance, a bank loan, you're saying I've had the money and I'm not paying it back, so I'm getting something for nothing.
Well, for example, let's suppose you have a credit card and you go and buy a lot of goods on the high street.
Yes.
Okay, which has been created by someone, there's, expenses incurred in putting them there,
Okay.
wage and stuff.
Like it, yeah. It's a good question, it's a valid question as well. It's one I wrestled in my head straight away. The first thing to learn before you try any of this is learn what money is. As I did at the opening of this talk, there is no money. You're not paying for anything. The reason I say you're not paying for anything is, get any money out of your pocket, it used to be backed, as we know, by gold and silver, didn't it? Sterling or whatever. It's backed by, the only thing it's backed by now, you look at a £20 note, £10 note, what does it say? I promise to pay on demand the sum of. Okay, does anybody know about the story of the lady who went to the Bank of England? She said, she's got a £20 note, she said, I want to cash it in. Tell me for what it's worth, so they gave it to the Thames. She said, no, you're not listening. I want to cash it in for what's backing it, please, I want to cash it in. So now they gave her £4 or £5 notes. She went, no, you're not listening. What is it worth? And it's worth nothing because it's a promise to pay. We have never paid for anything.
But you can't work both ways. If you're saying that you don't owe them, then you don't owe them money, but you're saying they do owe you money. And the
Well, I'm not enforcing.
And the other people in the public who are paying high prices, and it's clearly will affect them, I don't think they would agree with you either.
You don't have to agree, you can check it out yourself. There is nothing with which to pay. This country...
But what you're doing is having a negative impact on everybody else who wants to pay the country.
On an illusionary monetary system, it doesn't exist.
But it isn't impact on the people.
But if you're taxing it over time,
yeah, that's right, yeah, that's correct.
Let me just
that gives you any value or any power in what we do.
Yeah, it's the labour, tax the labour.
Stealing it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just... It is a valid question. What I'm trying to say is, this country and America, we've been bankrupt. We are operating in the equivalent of a Chapter 22 bankruptcy. What that means is it's called debtors in possession. Imagine that circle there is Great Britain, yeah? Imagine all the currency floating around there in form of actual cash, digital money, whatever, is £1 trillion, yeah? The United Kingdom, it's a corporation. I'm not talking about the geographical landmass. The United Kingdom is a corporation, yeah? There's £1 trillion floating around in currency, yeah? The debt that the United Kingdom Corporation owes out to the private bankers, imagine it's 4 trillion. Okay, every single issue of currency there is not, it's a debt instrument, it's a debt note, it's worth nothing. It's in negative equity, whatever you want to call it. There is no money with which to pay because through loans from the private banking cartel, we are bankrupt for 4 trillion and there's only 1 trillion floating around. It's worthless. That's why it's not backed by anything. It's not worth the paper that it's even on, if it's digital. You know what I mean? So all we are doing is, you cannot pay a debt in law. All you can do is discharge it in equity. And what that means is, there is nothing with which to pay. It's an illusion. It's a trick. Anybody who's ever paid anything since 1933, my mum was born in 1929, she'll be one of the real last people that ever actually paid for anything. The scam is to keep us working. The value in that piece of paper is not gold or silver, as we know. It's not worth the goods that you are swapping them for. The value in that piece of paper, I said paper, it can be digital transfer. The value in that paper is what you're willing to put into that in terms of sweat and work and your belief, your perception of what that's worth. It's worth nothing.
You've used the word scam, and I think if everybody did the same scam, these services wouldn't be there for us to use. So, you know.
What services?
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, what you're spending your money on.
You're not spending money.
Okay, of these services.
You are being tricked into the
these
illusion
services
that
these services
okay.
you're consuming.
Okay, imagine you provide a service to me and you say, Rob, you owe me £2,000. No problem. I then write on a piece of paper, just imagine your name's Dave, I presume it's not. I say, all right, Dave, yeah, promise to pay, there you are, mate. What would you do with that? A couple of weeks later, you ring me back up and you say, what's this? I said, well, it's a promise to pay. And what would you do? You'd say, no, well, you'll need to pay, yeah? So I then write it out and I give you another promise to pay. well, eventually you're going to get pissed off, aren't you? Look at your money, it's a promise to pay, nothing gets fulfilled.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I'm saying from a moralistic point of view, if everybody's out there to get something for nothing, then...
Well, hang on a minute, no.
Excuse me, can I answer this young man?
Yes, of course, Sharon.
I'm a lot older than you, so forgive me for saying that. But all my life, all my husband's life, all we've done is work and pay huge amount of tax bills. VAT bill because we're self-employed. One day, not that long ago, I got made redundant. And I went into the JSA, first time in my life, and asked for some money and help. I got laughed at. You're not entitled to no businesses, because you have paid self-employed stamp, you're entitled to nothing. And when I start looking back over the years that me and my husband have paid every system there is, never claimed a penny back. And now I am in poverty. I am struggling to pay my mortgage. I can't give you children or grandchildren anything for this. I can't do any of that. I should be able to take them now, at nearly retirement, to sit back and look at everything I've produced and made and worked for. And I can't, and I'm doing this, because the likes of your age group, forgive me for saying this again, can go out one day, earn money and keep it.
Yes, well said.
And not pay
What I'm basically saying is, one second. What I'm basically saying is I see couples with families both working 40, 50 hours a week, they can't afford their bills. I see single parents like myself struggling. I see people, the pensions they were promised to, ever disappearing. The whole system, when you learn the game, is to make us work like slaves. In fact, we are slaves, in voluntary servitude, and extract everything back off us again. And when you learn that, you'll realise what I am saying and what these people are saying is right. The idea of the game is to push as much liability onto us, or giving us as little as possible, if anything at all, just so we're barely surviving. And that's why I do what I do. I get 100 emails a week, and I help single people, I help people that have been unfairly dismissed at work, arrested for nothing, or getting bailiffs coming round, bullying them, taking the cars away. When, if you said you're a single parent, same as me, a bill comes to my door, I can't pay it. I phone them up, it might be 200 quid, and I say I cannot pay it. It's not. I'm not trying to get out of anything. I've got 2 kids to feed. I've lost my job. I've had to look after my children, so I didn't get taken into care. I can't pay you 300 quid. I say to them, can I give you a tenner a week? I'm a single parent. I can't. No, you can't. Well, what can I give you? Well, you have to pay it all. Well, we'll knock you 20 quid off. I can't pay it. So what I'm saying is I'm not getting out of anything. I can't pay it. That's it. Job done. I can't pay it. So would you feed your kids and have your electric and your gas on, or would you pay your financial demands that are pouring through your letterbox? Choice is yours, isn't it? I'm not getting away with anything. If I had the money, I would pay it. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. This lady on here wanted to say something.
A couple of points. First of all is that if you don't pay, I think what you have to do is pay a reasonable contribution for what you've taken. And I suppose, okay, money doesn't exist in real terms, but what you have to do is provide some sort of exchange. If everybody in the country doesn't pay your gas bill, what's going to happen is, first of all, the people that work in the gas industry, and there are people low down that just turn on switches and have to guard properties there. They won't get paid.
Yes, free energy from them. We should be paying for energy. Why are we on fossil fuel energy? Why are we using petrol, diesel, oil for cars? Why are we using gas and electric in this form? Okay, well what I'm saying is the system that's set in place, why are we paying to live? Why are we paying through the nose to heat our houses, to be warm?
Because they were making unreasonable demands for unreasonable profits.
So you agree that they are unreasonable? Okay. Okay, alright, right, let's listen. Just let me answer that before we move on. I will pay £100 a year for gas, £100 a year for electric, and £100 a year for water. I don't mind that. I'll bung them, whatever it is, whatever it works out at weekly or monthly, I will pay that. I'm not disputing that. But I've got a website you can go on called, I think it's called Duedil, or you just have a username, and it shows you, I did it on a radio show about a month ago, the company profits that these people are making are hideous. They're extortionate. It's pure greed.
Our government fraudulently sold these resources to
well said, well said, well said, well said. Well said.
That's our water, that's our gas, and they've sold it to foreign corporations.
Exactly.
Who pays the earth tax? Who pays the earth tax for the
I don't
resources?
think this talk going to go like this.
No,
This is
we can't.
I'll move on. Question number 2.
My second point was if I'm in a small holding and I breed chickens and sell eggs,
Yes.
I give somebody 6 eggs and they say to me, I'm not paying you, I've eaten them now, so I can't get them back. How do I force them, in your world, how do I force them?
It's got a value, hasn't it?
Yes, I think that all these things, the people that sell them to us, that people think they have a value to them. The person who switches on and off the power of the gas cord
Okay.
might be a little minion.
You have to move on, so we're running out of time.
So we
Okay.
have to pay reasonable amounts
question.
for the
Next person that I find is committing suicide because they can't afford
Well
to pay
said,
the bills,
Rob.
right? I'll remind them of that.
We know personally of 3 people that cannot take it anymore. So no future, and then it all.
reasonable.
Okay, you sell your eggs, right? You sell them for £3. Somebody doesn't pay, they are in dishonour, you are in honour. Yeah? Agreed. You sell them half a dozen eggs, whatever they are, dozen eggs, for £25 and somebody don't pay, who's in dishonour?
You are.
You're in dishonour for charging £25 for somebody who needs those eggs, yeah? Okay. So, yes, I'm agreeing with you. £100 a year for gas. Okay, 40 million households in this country. If everybody paid £100 a year, what's that? More than enough to treat it all, supply it all, and anything without still making profit, but not massive amount of profit. Same with your water.
Not extortion.
Pardon?
Not greed, not extortion.
Not extortion. And not the threat of cutting you off. You've got children, why should you be cut off? Prepaid. Human rights issues. We're not allowed to cut you off for gas, electric and water. They can't touch your water anyway.
Essential needs.
Yeah, what do? Put your prepayment meter in. Why? Because it's a higher tariff, and when it runs out, you fucking cut off, aren't you? They get around it that way. Why? I've got 2 children. I've been looking after my children since they were 5 and 6 years old. If I can't pay that electric bill, what am I going to do? If I can't cook them the tea, why? Because they're charging me a fortune. Charge me a reasonable amount, and I'll pay it. What I originally said is I can't pay it. I don't want to pay it, I can't pay it. So, if I can't, can I?
Right, so we're agreeing the word reasonable is what you
That is the word. You can even use the word honourable if you want, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm totally thrown now. But if anyone wants to have a chat with me after, no problem. Where's Paul? How long have we got, Paul? So, do you want to take a break there? Or will you tell me when?
Just keep on through the 20 minutes, mate. That's all.
Okay, give us a knock because I'll just get... Okay, so that's basically what I use. You don't have, I said at the start, you don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to like it. But it works. And the reason it works is that you are doing nothing wrong. That's why it works. I asked them, if you remember, I accepted it. I accept everything they throw at me on condition that you show me some proof. This is why I didn't want to do gas and electric, by the way. Check order. It's too difficult to do, but I can do it. I can tell you all about what to do. It's a very tricky ground anyway. Okay, so I want to move on from that because we're going to start fighting, isn't it? So that's the debt stuff that I use. What should I do? Oh, I'll tell you. Oh, I don't know. I didn't say this now. You might get really attacked. This is all stuff that I've experienced. I'm not saying it's law. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's just what I did through necessity. And everyone leaves me alone. I'm just going to stick this back on here. I'm just not going to stick that back on there. Back Inspector Closer, isn't it? Okay, I want to move on from that debt stuff because we can just talk about it all night. And we've got some fantastic speakers to come on as well. I made these notes an hour and a half before I set off this morning. So, it's like hieroglyphics, this. Well, I'll tell you what, natural progression from that is my experiences with court. Whoa. The place that hates me more than anything. Okay, court. Let's put a legal fiction name. What's a B? I'll have to do this really briefly. I think Paul said 20 minutes, so 15 minutes and we'll get over this. Okay. Any demand that they do place on you, if you don't pay and don't do something similar to me, I'm not talking to this side, much am I? If you don't, if you ignore it or you don't pay or you get in some sort of conflict, every liability is aimed at this chap. It's not aimed at you as a human being because they can't take action on you. The reason they can't take action on you, amongst many other things, is they can't contract with you. All law is commercial. End of. All law is commercial. All commerce is contract. Every bit of commerce is contract. There has to be a contract in place. So if all law is commercial and all commerce is contract, then the contract makes the law, as far as I'm concerned, and that is right. Okay, so no contract, no obligation, which is my point earlier on. Okay, they know this, and the reason they know this is because every financial demand comes in the name of either Rob Freeman in block capitals or Mr. Rob Freeman with a legal title. That's because he can't bill me because there is no contract in place. So straight away, this has got so many connotations, it's a joke, and I can't really go into it down to these people here. They know exactly what's happening. So every demand is Mr. Rob Freeman in block capital letters, yeah? Okay. The early Freeman stuff that I learned is, like I said before, I was scared of this name. I didn't want to be this name because I know that if I become this name, it is, amongst many other things, it is a corporation. It's a corporation of one. So, remember I said a corporation and a human being can't contract, but two human beings can. So, the Mr. Rob Freeman is a corporatised title that we represent. Hence, we are then in contract with whoever's placing a demand on us, a corporation. Okay. Early on then, I wouldn't be this. I used to go in court and argue that I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And I never won and I never lost. It used to reach a stalemate, and that's why I used to arrest the judges and stuff. Well, then what I realised is, I'm not scared of this anymore. For the last 2 or 3 years, I learned some stuff about things called trusts, what a trust is. Now, this has been, like it is a corporation, some people call it a straw man, but it is all that, but it's also a trust estate as well. Interesting. I had a look at this 2 years ago, shelved it, come back about a year and a half ago, a year ago, thought, hang on a minute, I'm getting fantastic results from this. No longer am I scared of this now. Okay, that's your house. That's a bit of dog poo there. But that's your house. Okay, with your actual address into it.
Do you live in a dock?
I live at Ashton in Quackerfield. Okay, so that's my house, that's my address. Okay, what I realised is that although that's not me, because it's a legal fiction name, a corporation, whatever, some part of me is in there. It has to be. And what I realised is, instead of being frightened of it, I realised it's a facility, a tool for us as human beings to engage in commerce with that lot that are running things. And based on that, it's also a trust estate, I realised, hang on a minute, it's not a bad thing, this. Okay, I realised you can use this when and if you feel like it, or you can choose not to. Nobody can force you into it. So what they do is, Mr. Rob Freeman, somebody sends a demand, what they do is, it's like a fishing net, they chuck it at my house, boom. They throw a net at my house with that written on it, and they wait for a buyer. It's a fishing expedition. Most people, 99% of people, when they see that name, they'll respond to it, won't they? You owe us 250 quid. So most people will respond to it, won't they, because they think it's them. Okay. As soon as you get a bite, well, what bites? A fish, doesn't it? A fish gets what? It gets caught, doesn't it? Yeah, that's why you end up in caught. You basically get caught. It's just a fishing expedition. That's all it is. Okay. They throw it out, they cast the net. Cast the net? They're Spanish things, aren't they? They chuck a net out, and they wait for a bite. And 99 times out of 100, you get one, don't they? So what I realised is, hang on a minute, it is all this, what they said. Some part of me is in there. It has to be. But if you wanted to define me, you could say he's under 5'10", he's over 40, he's good looking, no. He's dark-skinned, he talks a lot, whatever, and I fit into those categories, don't I? Well, that's not the whole me, is it? And in the same fashion, I do fit into that to some extent, but it's not the whole me. That is not me. They want us to believe that that is us, and some part of us is in there. Does that make sense? It does inside here. I don't know whether it's coming out right. Okay, so based on that, I realised it was a facility, a tool, something we can use. Okay. I'm getting through some paper here, aren't I? No, I'll start the same sheet. Okay, so court. So they took it out, we buy and we go to court, don't we? Okay. So looking at courts, I'm going to have to really condense this, unless we carry on with courts a little bit after. Yeah, I'll do as much as I can now, have a break, and I'll carry on with courts, and then I'll finish up on other stuff. Okay, so what I realised about courts is, in fact I'll spin over. Okay, what's happening in court? Like I said, I got loads of stalemates. I didn't quite get victories at first, and then, but they didn't quite beat me. They didn't beat me, I didn't beat them, but it somehow went away. So kind of a victory. And then, as most people know, most courts are on Admiralty Maritime Law, yeah? Okay, statute law, okay. There's stuff about contracts involving the human being, sentient human being, is all common law. Common law because it's common sense and it's common ground. It's the law of the land, is the contract stuff, what I was asking for, is all common law. Okay, the stuff that they're throwing at us through what's called statutes is all, it's the law of the sea. Okay, the law of the sea is Admiralty Maritime Law, that's what's happening in court. Basic stuff, but some of you may not know this. So, when you go to court, you are, and look at money, everything, it's the law of water, Admiralty Maritime Law, that's why your official gets caught, but look at, the law of water is the law of money. Why is it the law of money? Well, the currency is the current sea. The rivers go and it's got banks at either side. Too numerous to mention, I can guarantee you, check it out yourself, 110,000%, the law of the sea is the law of money, it's the same thing. Okay, so when we go to court in that fiction name, all capital name, I'll have to be quick here, I'm trying to skip through it a bit. Come on, forever, won't I? That is classed as a, is it classed as a ship? It's classed as a vessel, isn't it? It's classed as a vessel. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay, so we enter, that's why you stand in a dock. It's all to do with this sea, okay. I'm going to have to run through this quickly, but it's quite basic stuff, but like I say, some of you may not know. So you're being judged by the law of water. It's almost like they flooded the land. So what have they done with common law? They say it's not relevant anymore, they swept it under the carpet. Yeah, because they flooded the land with water, their law, that's why. We want to stay on common law. Common law is common sense and fair. Okay. The reason why they can't act on a human being, they can only act on the corporate fiction, that's why they invented this law of the sea. Okay, so that's what's going on in court, and I used to argue about this name at first. And you can't win, because if I turn up as a human being, and they say, are you Rob Freeman? And I say, yeah, then they straight away give me a title, call me Mr. Rob Freeman, and I've just become a corporation, I've attached myself to it. Remember, some of me is in there if I want it to be, or if I don't want it to be, some of me is in there. If I say yeah, then I want to call me Mr. Rob Freeman, I'm then contracting through maritime admiralty law, corporation to corporation, I'm going to lose every time. So, that is going off. Keep looking for wiper. So, 3 things are happening in court, unbelievable. I'm going to have to finish this off after the break, but 3 things are happening in court. That's number 1. Most people fall down on that bit. It's called statute law. A statute, it only has the force of law when you consent to it. Nobody can make you consent. You have to consent to a statute for it to apply to you. The way they get around it is they trick us into consent. They trick us into it. It's all deception. Okay. So, first thing that goes off is, and that usually beats most people, have you noticed you commit an offence, or it's not a true crime. The reason it's not a true crime, like common law, if you commit a crime, you cause harm to somebody. People say harm or loss or whatever, it just all comes under harm. Del, if I do something personally to Del, then it doesn't matter, I will not be able to get away with anything. This is back to honour and dishonour again. There's an injured party. Not only that, remember I said I accept everything, prove it, Del will stand forward and sign the sworn statement with his life signature under full commercial liability saying, Rob Freeman came up and smacked me. And fair enough, I'm in dishonour, you're in honour, I deserve to get punished. Okay. Remember what I said I asked these people? Put some pen to paper, stand by your claim like Del would do, none of them do it. The reason being is there is no claim. Okay, so first thing that happens in court is maritime admiralty, law of the sea, we get duped every time. It's called summary convictions. All it is it's commerce. Commerce, any word with the letters M-E-R anywhere near them is mer, French for sea. Commerce is maritime ambulance law, it's all done overseas. Okay. So that's the first thing that happens in court. No problem. After I said I got stalemates, what I realised is that, hang on a minute, I started beating them in court. What I realised is, the second thing that's happening in court, and this might be better after break this, is that there's some form of trust going off. Oh, hang on a minute. Started looking at stuff by a chap called Dean Clifford, and I'm sure most of you know who he is, up in Canada. A chap called Franco Collins, fantastic as well. There's a trust relationship going off. This corporate fiction name I told you about was created by a birth certificate. When you're born, a couple of weeks after, your mum and dad register your birth and you become a corporate entity. Okay? When you get up to age of maturity, you get your national insurance number. What I realised quickly is, from lots of research, is that the birth certificate thing that's set up, not only is it corporate, it's also called a foreign situs trust. Oh, hang on a minute, I know about trust. Oh, I'll look at this. Hang on a minute, it's a trust. Trust, very different, completely different implications to a corporation. A corporation can be a trust, but they can be very different things. Okay, so foreign situs trust. When you get to age of maturity, it subrogates, and I think it's called a SKV trust. So it's a trust that automatically changes over into another trust, basically. So hang on a minute, I thought, well, if it's a trust, well, I know a little bit about trust. And there's three main, trust law is very, very complicated. I got the trust law handbook. It's like that thick, it's only a booking handbook, it's like that. I thought, I can't go out with that. I tried to read it and I thought, oh, I'll send it to Robbie, he's good stuff like that. I can't read it. He was using to know to scout and things, I can't do it. I forget where I am. So, I thought trust is really complicated. So I started looking at it. And what I found out is that there are three, and this I took this way of describing it is from Dean Clifford, because I can't think of it really simple. Okay, so it's a trust. Okay, what is a trust? A trust set up for somebody else's benefit. Okay, so what we'll do. Remember, this is what's happening in court. There's a trust relationship going off, but there's also a trust relationship going off in court. Try and simplify this if I can. Okay, so, Mr. Rob Freeman, all capitals. It is a corporate fiction thing and all that stuff, but it's also a trust. Okay, I found out that a trust has got three main parts to it. It's got a trustee, or trustees. I'll do all this in singular, but, you know, it can be plural. Okay. Sometimes called a grantor or a settlor, is it? Settlor, grantor. They set up the trust for somebody else's benefit. So I thought, hang on a minute, what works here? The person we set it up for is called the beneficiary. They stand to have the benefits for that trust. That's as beneficiary. Okay. They have got some value in that trust. They've got the equity, back to equity, big difference between equity and so-called law. Okay. So that trust was set up by somebody who granted it to them or as a settlor or levy for some sort of benefit. Now that trust can be something of, it can be property. It can be, let's get this right, it can be anything tangible, property that you can touch, intangible, or is it non-tangible? Tangible, intangible, and biological. Interesting. Okay. So a trust is anything with it's property basically. Okay, set up for this person, yeah? Okay. This person here, the trustee, this person is a trustee. His obligation is to be involved in that trust for the sole benefit of this person here. It's getting more and more screwy, that, isn't it? Okay. This beneficiary, he's a beneficiary. He's got the benefit, he's got the equity in that trust. He's entrusting these people to do the best with that property. They could be looking after that property for him, for the beneficiary. But I started looking again, there's a third position. And as in a will, you can have an executor or it says administrator. Okay. That does say administrator. Okay, the beneficiary, he's got all the benefit in there, all the equity in there, but he don't want to do anything. So, an administrator or executive can be appointed to direct the policy of that trust. Okay. His main job, right, is to get maximum benefit for the beneficiary and make sure that trust works. So, what does he do? He employs people as trustees. So, the trustees have to do what this chap says. This chap works solely on behalf of these people. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? If it was a... Imagine it's a corporation. Okay, if it was a corporation, you would have... I'll go into this a bit more as it applies to court. Okay, you've got employee or employees, yeah? You've got a shareholder. What has he got? He's got some value in that he set that company up. Exactly the same thing. Corporate law, trust law, exactly the same. Shareholder would be your beneficiary. Your trustee would be your employee. Your, I don't know what you call him, would you call him the managing director or CEO? Managing director. Okay, he runs that company, does he not? Solely for this chap. For maximum profit for the shareholder, does he not? What does he do? He tells the employees what to do. The employees have an obligation to work their arses off, basically, to make maximum profit for this chap at the say-so of this chap. Does that make sense? Exactly the same as a trust. Okay, reason it's relevant is that, going back to Mr. Rob Freeman, wherever that was, the trust result. Well, it looks like that. Well, that's anything you used to use when you were a kid. It looks like that, doesn't it? Spirograph. Remember Spirograph? Anybody that old? Okay, that was a trust earlier on. Okay. So what I found out is, hang on a minute, somebody set a trust up for me, for Rob Freeman. I'm the beneficiary. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So, I'm going to have to cut this short, but what I found out is that when you go along to court, because you've been caught because you've been a fish, they don't tell you. Remember when I said there are 3 things going off? Number 1, I'm going to go. Number 2, trust law is going off, but they don't tell you that. What happens is you turn up at court representing Mr. Rob Freeman, okay? The judge, or magistrate, call him judge, what does he do? You go to court, they ask you your name, they walk this way, stand there, go over there, read that, they're telling you what to do. So, the judge is the administrator. He's running the policy of that courtroom. This is all trust, this is a trust going off. The judge is the administrator, okay? So, who am I when I turn up? Well, remember when I said the trustee is the employee? Okay, I'm turning up and I'm getting told what to do, I'm getting told where to stand, how do you plead, hold that in your hand. I'm acting like a trustee, which is an employee. Remember, it's my trust, this. They don't know that we know that, but it's my trust. I've got the equity in there. Okay, but what happens is, whoever's taking you to court, imagine it's the... I've been in court lately, actually. Imagine it's the Crown for a... Imagine it's the police for a speeding offence. So it'll be Crown Prosecution Service, won't it, on behalf of the police. CPS. In fact, CPS took me to court for being disqualified, driving whilst disqualified, so let's have that. Okay, CPS. Okay, 3 parts to a trust. Executor or administrator, trustee and beneficiary. So hang on a minute. If the judge takes over the proceedings and controls it, he's the executor or administrator. Yeah, I'm getting told what to do, so I'm acting like a trustee, employee. So hang on a minute. The trust in court was the beneficiary. Well, believe it or not, whoever's bringing you to court ends up being the beneficiary. First time I saw that, I thought, what the bloody hell, how can he be the beneficiary? It's because he's trying to get some equity out of that trust, that is my trust. And the equity and value in there, he would benefit from getting some out of my trust. So he automatically becomes a beneficiary. Now this is what's called it's called a legal presumption. Paul, if you're there, give me a shout when it's time to knock off. Pardon? Okay, 2 minutes, we'll have a break. Okay, you go along to court, you represent the legal fiction name or whatever you do. This is the second thing going off, remember, is there's a legal presumption by the judge and the judiciary that you are a trustee. I used to hate these people at first, but what I realised is that this chap, magistrates, judges are doing nothing wrong. The reason they're doing nothing wrong is somebody's got to come forward and administer those proceedings. We're not doing it because we didn't know, did we? We just turned up. This chap's got a claim against us, so he can't do it. So they have an obligation to come forward and administer proceedings. Okay, we get told what to do. So we are volunteering, it's all down to we voluntarily becoming trustees. Okay. The CPS have got some sort of claim to a benefit of some sort of equity, so they become beneficiaries. The main sole purpose of any executor or administrator is purely to work for and on behalf of the beneficiary, no matter what. Okay? That's his main job in life, in any trust. Sorry, in any trust. So in a way, can you see why magistrates' courts, 97% of the time, they side with the corporations against us? Now at first I thought, well, they're all in it together. They kind of are all in it together. But what they are doing is, he has got an obligation to represent him for maximum benefit. So in a way, are they doing anything wrong? I don't think they are. Okay, out of those three positions, whenever you're a trustee, acting in that capacity, you cannot hold any other position. Okay, if you are an administrator executor, you can hold those two positions at the same time. So you can be both a beneficiary and an executor of that trust. Okay, remember the executor, administrator, same thing, works solely on behalf of the beneficiary. You can be those two positions, okay? But you can't be all three, and you can't be that and anything else. So what chance have you got in court? The trustee, if he does not do what this chap says on behalf of this chap, he's in serious breach of trust. That's why you're found guilty. That's why it's called summary conviction. Serious breach of trust. That's what happens when you go to court. Most people fall down on the admiralty, maritime stuff. It's good enough to get rid of most people. I got wise to it. They couldn't get rid of me. So then they employ trick number 2. Okay, I'm going to have a breakdown, but I just want to tell you is I've walked into court now many times. It's a legal presumption that these people make. All I've done is gone in and said to the magistrates and the judges, I recognise that this is a trust estate. I'm the sole beneficiary. Mr. Rob Freeman set up in my name. I'm the sole beneficiary of my trust estate. I'm appointing myself as the general executor, the duly appointed administrator of my own trust estate, which is fine. You can't come into my trust estate, it belongs to me. You can't just jump in, you can't just presume it, but we have to tell them. So I am now both. I said you can be two positions. I'm the sole beneficiary and the general executor. Now it's my trust. Okay, one more position left. Trustee. Trustee has to do what the executor or administrator says, or is in breach of trust. So I walk in and tell them who I am. Doesn't matter what they call me now. They can call me Mr. Freeman, they can call me Mickey Mouse, they can call me whatever they want. I know who I am. I'd rather you call me general executor of my trust estate. Call me what you want. Rob Freeman, in what capitals, is the name of the trust estate. So, one position left, trustees. Well, who's the trustee? Judges, magistrates, they swore oaths. They swore oaths as public servants. What is a servant? It's an employee, it's a trustee, they work for us. All I do is switch the arrangement around, which is what they've done to us, and remind them that they are now my trustees. 6 or 7 times I've now walked into court as general executor of my trust estate and dismissed all charges after it's never failed. Once they took action against me, came and arrested me as a no-show. Well, I'll tell you about that later, I'll lead them on that. So if you have to appoint yourself and tell them and remind them, it's my trust estate, it was set up for me, I'm the sole beneficiary, I'm taking charge, I'm the general executor, you're the trustee, you swore an oath, you volunteered to do that. The person bringing the claim is anybody performing a function of government, working for the government, is in service, in some form is also a trustee. So it's my trust, I'm the executor, I'm the sole beneficiary, you're my trustees, fuck off and leave me alone. Unless you have got some seal that warrants you can get into my trust estate, and they never can because they never have. So I'll leave it there and what they're doing.